It is fall in the South, and you know what that means? Camellia season is upon us. Stay tuned because school is in session for Camellia 101. Hello friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside. I am Jenny, and yes, it is the fall and we are in the South, so that means one thing: camellias are coming into all of their glory. I thought it would be really helpful for not only myself, but for you too, to get a little bit of schooling on camellias. This is just the basics. This is not going to be a master class on camellia care or diving into all of the camellia varieties, because there are literally thousands. But I did think it would be very helpful for us just to kind of cover the basics. So, camellias, a couple of fun facts for you. Camellias are native to Asia, so they're very popular in China, Japan, and India. One of the, if not the oldest camellia in the entire world is located in China in a monastery, and it was actually planted in 1342. I know, extremely long-lived. So once you have a camellia established, that is the beauty of these beautiful plants, is that they just will be long-lived and very happy. Now, camellias, another thing, I did not know this, they are actually part of the tea family. All of our black tea, green tea actually come from a camellia plant. Now, it's not the camellia plants that you see in front of me. There are actually like over 300 different species of camellias. So the tea actually comes from a tea camellia. What we have in front of me are two of the most popular varieties of camellias, species of camellias that we find here in the South. These that are blooming here on my left are sasanquas. We love sasanquas because they are the first varieties to bloom in the South. The ones over here that are just lovely green shrubs, those are japonicas. So japonicas will bloom actually beginning around Christmas into the early spring. The beautiful thing about camellias is if you plant accordingly, you can have up to 6 months of beautiful flowers in the dead of winter, all the way from fall into spring. So how do you know the difference between a sasanqua and a japonica? Well, there's really just a really easy way to tell just by looking at them. The sasanqua leaves are typically much smaller than the japonica. Japonica can be nice and fat, like up to 4 inches long, really huge fat leaves. Sasanquas will actually grow faster. So the benefit of a sasanqua is that it is the first to bloom. They tend to be a little bit on the more smaller side, so you can have different varieties that are low growing, shrubs, just a moderate size, up to about that 8-foot range. They have just a great fast growth, so you can shape them however you want them. So if you want a hedge, you can do a hedge. If you want to shape them into a tree, you can do like a tree form. Then the japonicas are fantastic because they are a little bit of a slower grower, and they bloom beginning in Christmas all throughout the springtime. So if you have an area and you're looking to really kind of establish your garden and you want to sit and back and just watch it grow and you're planting for longevity, then I would definitely put some japonicas into your garden space. They will also, even though they are slower growers, they will get bigger in the long run. We were actually at a customer's house and they had a camellia trained into a tree form. It looked like a crepe myrtle. If you weren't paying attention, you would think it was just a crepe myrtle, and it was actually a camellia. It was positively a marvelous thing, and it just inspired me. But you have to think this is long term, because this was an older home, and that camellia was probably planted easily probably 50 years ago. So that is another great benefit of camellias, is that they are just so long-lived. They hold a lot of memories to be passed down from one generation to another. And then you cannot beat the color of these blooms. Absolutely gorgeous. So camellias will come in whites, pinks, reds, yellows, and then all sorts of variations in between. You can get a single bloom, which just means just a single petals. You can get double blooms, which looks more like a rose. You can get a peony form. They come in all sorts of different petal types. And like in fact, with the American Camellia Society, there are over 2,000 different varieties of camellias listed that are found in the United States. So truly, the world is your oyster when you're trying to pick out a camellia. So if you want to find something that is low or you have a certain color, then you just go on a hunt for the right variety. Now, talking about that, what is the care for a camellia? The old-timey camellias really do prefer to be in an environment like this, under a tree canopy, because they do not like to have a lot of direct sun, especially that late hot afternoon sun. They love to have acidic soil, so they are very much an acid-loving plant. Underneath some trees, if you have a pine grove like we do right here, this is the perfect place for them to receive that filtered sunlight. Because they are such slow growers, that means that their roots are also a slow grower. So you're gonna have to really kind of pay attention for the first couple of years with your camellia to make sure that it is well established. And because you'll probably be planting those older varieties underneath trees, you're gonna have to think, okay, my camellia is competing for water against roots from these trees. So you're gonna have to go out in the heat of the summer. If you go through a drought, make sure that they have water, because again, that's when they could be forming their buds, so you don't want to put the plant in stress when it's forming its buds, therefore it may not bloom. So the old varieties do prefer that filtered sun, but of course, in the great world of horticulture, they have been able to breed camellias that do really well in full sun. If you find any kind of camellia from the Southern Living Plant Collection, they have done an absolute marvelous job breeding new varieties of camellias, and they are more sun tolerant. Again, you will have to pay attention to what size that the plant will ultimately be. Which leads me to another point. When you are planting your camellia, you need to make sure that you know what variety it is and what its mature size will be. And then you need to plant accordingly so that it has plenty of room to grow. You've got to think long-term on these camellias. Do not think just right now in the future, because Jerry and I have gone to so many different older homes where 30, 40, 50 years ago, the original homeowners planted like a Japonica right on the corner of their house, like 2 feet away from their house. That is not a good place for that plant at all, because that camellia has completely overtaken the whole house. And it kills me, but sometimes the best thing to do is to take that plant out, even though I love camellias and there's nothing more gorgeous than a beautiful, healthy camellia, but when it is growing into your house and growing into your roof, it's got to be removed. So make sure that you know your mature size and that you plant accordingly. Give them lots of room to groove and to grow. Maintenance, what do? Well, they're pretty maintenance free. But if you're going to prune a camellia, that is going to be done in late winter, early spring. So really, you can really prune them from beginning like Valentine's Day up to May 1st. I would probably go ahead and prune my sasanquas right there at Valentine's Day because they're already done blooming. I would wait on my japonicas. If they're still blooming, then I'm not going to prune that until later on in the spring. At that point, if you just want to gently come in and shape the plant, you can do that. You will see that these sasanquas right here, some of them have a lot of length on them, there's random limbs that are just really tall. You're just going to come in and give it a gentle shape. At this point, you do not need, there is no need to come in and do a heavy pruning on them. Now, if you do have a camellia that has been in your garden, your yard for many years, and it is huge, you can give it a really severe haircut, prune it back, but you want to do that between that Valentine's Day and May 1st. If you do it any later than that, one, you're putting the plant under a lot of stress because we're going into the heat of the summer, and then two, you are risking cutting off all of your blooms for that next year, because all camellias bloom on old growth. That means in the spring, summer, and early fall, they are putting on their buds for the next season. very much like azaleas. So you want to prune them immediately after they bloom and not any later, otherwise you're going to forfeit your blooms for that following year. So they really grow in like zones 7 to 10. You can find maybe some varieties that will go to a 6, but you've got to be really careful. Again, there's tons of different varieties. They will be different sizes, different shapes, different colors, different growing zones. So just pay attention and know your zone and know the plant zone. But I just encourage you to go out there if you are in these growing zones. If you're in the South and you don't have a camellia, I really do encourage you to get one because you will not be disappointed in the blooms. I was just telling Jerry the other day that I love this time of year because we have the tea olives are blooming and they smell delicious, and the camellias, the sasanquas, are just in all of their glory, and they are just positively glorious. I hope you have found this Camellia 101 a little helpful and informative. Go out and find you a camellia to put in your garden. As always, thank you for gardening with Creekside. We'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.